Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. One of the things that I have said repeatedly on this channel, and it may be more significant now than ever, is that in your journey for self-sufficiency, especially independence in food, that meat independence isn't really that difficult and may in fact, when it comes to all of the foods that we eat, may be the easiest thing to be self-sufficient in raising your own food. And well, in case you haven't been made aware of, that today they've announced that the largest meat packing producer on the planet, GBS, has of course been hacked. Yes, you remember the pipeline hack a few weeks back. Well, the same kind of thing has happened at the world's largest meat producer here in the United States and in Australia. It's affecting them in Australia also. Now, this information is just kind of coming out. Apparently, the White House says that they are working with Russian officials to try to figure this out. We're not sure, at least I haven't read yet, that they believe it's the exact same group, but probably is, that's based in Russia, that of course, you know, is not involved with the Russian government and blah, 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 blah. Now, whether or not they will pay this like they did with the pipeline and just pay them millions of dollars to release the information from this ransomware attack or not, I guess we'll find out. But there's several things going on here. Number one, obviously a national security issue. These hackers with this kind of technology are showing that, well, our infrastructure and just our whole system is so weak that just some hackers can go in and just shut it down. As much as the age of computer technology is making things so convenient, they also offer a very big vulnerability, and that they can easily be taken over, hacked, and basically the whole system brought to its knees by just the entry of a few codes. And so we'll want to talk about that here in a little bit as we go further. Before I get going, I want to mention, I'm talking about food, a company that I've worked with for a while and I'm very happy with, and it's My Patriot Supply. There is a link in the description below that you can go to and look at some of the products that they offer. They offer long-term freeze-dried food stuff, you know, in Mylar bags and buckets and big tin cans, whatever suits your fancy. And they have really great products, really great prices. I know several of you have purchased from them and have gotten really great feedback from the products that they've purchased, and how quick you can get them and the price and so on. So down in the description below, there's a link to My Patriot Supply that you can go check out what they have. So again, this meatpacking facility and company has been hacked by this ransomware hacking group. And they're holding their system ransom, and it's shut down the whole system, the whole plant. From what they're saying, it's shut them down. And the immediate reaction is well, we're now looking at probably some meat shortages. If you remember what happened with the whole, pipeline and people going out and filling the back of their pickup trucks with with gasoline and shopping plastic bags, and just the ridiculousness that we saw with that a couple of weeks back. So what's going to happen with meat? Now, there's a lot that just in finding out about this, my mind just kind of started going crazy of all the things over the past few weeks and months, specifically regarding meat. To start off with, is this a coincidence, or is this part of this planned agenda? Because if it is a coincidence, the people that are planning the agenda are probably thinking, man, this works out great for us because this fits perfectly. Maybe it is a coincidence, but you're going to have to figure that one out on your own, I guess. It's no secret that the far left, them that rule the world, they hate all this meat, especially red meat, but they hate the meat. And they've made it not a secret at all that they want to reduce it. In fact, a few weeks ago, It came out in the news that Biden's climate plan included a reduction of red meat by 90%, so that we would reduce our blah, blah, blah. We would reduce our red meat consumption by 90%. I'll get it out here in a second. And that we would reduce our overall usage of animal products, not just food, but anything that would use an animal product in it, by 50%. Now, the White House has since come out, or the FDA, or whoever it is, USDA, has come out and said, oh, no, there's no such plan in place. There's no such, mention of a plan. And maybe that's so. Maybe there's no bill being developed or some administrative ruling being developed that would include that. But what is interesting is that everything from the Paris Agreement, from the World Economic Forum, from the net zero carbon emissions proposal and the United Nations and all this kind of stuff, it all fits right with it. That's exactly what they're saying. World Economic Forum has been talking about for the last couple of years, at least, that we would reduce our meat consumption, that we would, only eat meat occasionally. There's a video they produced a few years ago that we would only eat meat occasionally, just as a little treat, just small little amounts, very rarely. But that we would eat everything from lab-grown meat all the way to eating bugs. And that's their big thing. They think bugs are the next greatest thing. And so we're going to eat a lot of this, get our protein from eating like mealworms. And they've produced videos on that. There's also been this big push for lab-grown synthetic meat. This is different. You've all seen it. I've even made videos on the Beyond Burger and Awesome Burger or whatever it is. This stuff isn't your traditional vegetarian veggie burger. I've eaten those before, and there's a few of them that are pretty decent. And of course, they're not meat. They're, whatever kind of vegetable, mushroom, different things that's made up the burger. This is different. This stuff is kind of basically, grown or created in a laboratory through, it's a scientist. I mean, this is something that a chemist and a scientist go in and they create this. This isn't just something that a chef takes different vegetables and spices and creates a non-meat burger. It's very different. And there's been a push for that for the last couple of years. And even in the last year to 6 months, even more so. Bill Gates has thrown his hat into throwing money into it, and other, popular, celebrities have kind of pushed this kind of idea. Even so to the point, and I've mentioned this in a prior video, that now the technology exists, that you can buy things like mastodon, woolly mammoth burgers, meat, and that's obviously from an extinct animal. And what they do is they're capable of taking a DNA strand from that animal and lab growing meat that's supposed to, they believe, tastes like this extinct animal. You could even buy Tyrannosaurus Rex steaks, and it's basically where they have taken DNA, some type of strand, and they could grow it and create this, steak. There's even a website where you can, this is sick, sadistic, demonic, whatever you want to call it, because it's all of that, where you can send them your own DNA or someone else's DNA, and they can lab grow a steak from your own DNA. That way you can find out what you taste like. This is the kind of stuff that's being pushed because they say that one of the absolute worst offenders when it comes to, global climate change and carbon emissions are all these cows and this meat. If we stopped eating red meat, if we stopped eating meat altogether and everyone became vegetarians and vegans, we would save the planet. And so that all being said, and there's certainly more to be said about all that, it's very interesting that all of a sudden, world's largest meat packing plant has been shut down because it's been hacked. And again, maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's just some very opportunistic hackers, or maybe it's all part of this plan. Whether this is the incident that shuts it down permanently, or they're just beta testing this idea of how do we stop that? So while we don't know all the answers, we certainly should find ourselves being prepared for this. It's funny, in the last couple of weeks, I have seen several things, posts, news articles, folks that have talked about it, that they've talked to people that work in the meat industry, all saying that expect meat shortages. It's coming soon to a grocery store near you. Meat shortages and drastic increases. That beef could easily go $5 or more increase per pound. That's $5 more per pound increase. And it's interesting, if you go back before the pipeline shut down, a few weeks back, the news was all talking about, gas shortages coming this summer, and then all of a sudden the pipeline got shut down. And so then in the last week or so, there's been all this beef shortages, coming beef prices increase, and then boom, plant was shut down. We're going to see this. I'm sure that beef is going to be affected the most, but for those of you that eat pork, that's probably going to be affected, and who knows what else, maybe chicken eventually. I don't think that this particular plant deals with chicken, but you never know, because there's this trickle effect with all this kind of stuff. Even though, let's say that chicken is not affected by the shutdown and the shortages and stuff, if everyone can't get the beef or the pork or whatever it is that they want, they'll just switch to buying chicken, and so, which will cause a shortage and increases in that area. This is another reason, folks, why we should be prepared. This is another reason why we should be as self-sufficient as we can. And for us here, not just when we got this place, because this has been going on for a while, that we realized that meat is an area that isn't as difficult as you might think to be self-sufficient. Now, that all comes with some, that being said, we don't eat meat all the time. We don't eat meat as much as an average American, and there's a couple of reasons. One reason being is that this herd here is only a year old, and so we'll be butchering out of this herd probably next spring, maybe next year. Now, once that happens, we will have quite a bit of meat. So right now, the only meat that we have that's come from this property is the chicken. We have butchered a lot of chickens over the past 12 months. So we've been eating a lot of chicken for that. And then once the critters out here in the field get to where we want them to be, we will be butchering that. And we're also looking into raising a small beef on the property and butchering that. I've made lots of videos on the sheep that we raise and why we do it and how easy it is to raise this breed of sheep for different reasons. And you can go back and watch some of these past videos on that subject. The fact is that I like them because they're small, and being that I'm one person doing the work of the butchering and not having all the proper facilities for butchering an animal, these things, they're kind of like a small deer, or right about a deer, depending on what time you butcher them. And so it makes it something that I can handle. I can easily handle butchering them myself, and they produce real well. We in our small herd, we had seven lambs born this season, and we'll just continue to expand. And so that is one way to put up a lot of meat. This past year, last year, we put up just a little over 400 pounds of chicken. That's a significant amount of chicken. And if you look into producing your own meat and raising it and producing it, there's different ways. There's obviously freezing it. That's probably the most common anymore, but you can certainly can it. And then there's other ways of preserving it, salting it, cold smoking it. And there's various different ways to preserve the meat that you produce on your property. And while it involves time and some labor, to be honest with you, it's not that difficult. It's not that complicated. And a lot of people get scared off from the actual butchering process. of cutting up the meat properly. It's not as difficult as you think, especially on a smaller animal. Now, if you were dealing with some big Angus, steer or cow or something like that, yeah, it's a little bit more daunting because of the size of the animal. But a smaller animal like this is not that complicated. And I've been a big proponent of that. Now, if you don't eat meat for whatever reason, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But most of you are meat eaters. And I firmly believe, and I believe this because they're telling us this. If you don't want to listen to what they're saying, then that's on you. But they are flat out telling us that they want to stop you from eating meat. They want to take that option off of your table. They want you to eat synthetic meats, lab-grown meats, and they want you to eat bugs for your protein. They want you to stop eating meat. All the world elites, all the world leaders, the world organizations out there are all saying the exact same thing. They want you to stop eating meat. So eventually, at some point, your options are going to be do what they say and either not eat meat or eat all this junk that they're saying is a substitute for meat, or doing what we do here. And there's various different options depending on how much land you have, depending on the equipment that you have, the skill and knowledge that you have, whether it's goats, sheep, beef, the offspring of your dairy cows, chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese, fish. There's a lot of different options for you. And so you'd probably be surprised at really how easy it is. And I could make other videos on that. For us, when we choose the animals that we want to raise, one of the big thing is how hardy that animal is. How easy are they to raise? A lot of your kind of newer breeds of farm animals tend to be a little bit more delicate. You have to give them all these medicines and stuff like that. And we look for more of the old and primitive. Our sheep, they're a primitive breed of sheep, and they're extremely hardy. You basically stick them out there and you give them water and make sure they got enough food, and that's it. That's about all you have to do with them. But folks, this whole hacking and shutting down of this big world's largest meat producing plants, I think that there's something really significant here. And this particular one may not be the end all event, but I would guess that you're going to start seeing prices increase very shortly, or you're going to see people running out and mass buying as much meat as they can because they're freaking out because the plant shut down. So that's going to create a problem. And in the end, I think it's all going to probably used as a catalyst to get this reducing, forced reduction of meat consumption moving. That's what they want. And I think that's what we are eventually going to start seeing is different things happening. There's already been some state and local laws being proposed in certain areas, and some have even been passed that make it more complicated to be a meat producer in this country, in certain states and areas, and we're probably going to start seeing more of that. So folks, if you don't want to eat their synthetic chemical junk, or you don't want to eat a bunch of bugs, I would encourage you to start seriously looking into stuff like this. It doesn't have to be like what we're doing, but working on a plan to get yourself as self-sufficient and meat independent as you can, because it's not as impossible as you think. All right, folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.